Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. It did not take Trump long in order to tell us straight that the United States is at war with Russia. Obviously, not in a, as they like to say it, a hybrid war. I think this is even more than that. So, why? Because a hybrid war usually is, through other means, like you say, well, it's Ukraine. Usually happening somewhere else. No, Donald Trump agrees to send the Ukrainians long-range missiles to strike deep inside Russia, including Moscow. No, but those weapons are programmed in such a way that they will strike only towards east. The weapons, the Tomahawks, if they try to go west, somehow they're programmed to go only east. Obviously, that's imbecilic. The Ukrainians can turn and hit capitals in the west if they don't receive what they want. And I'm not talking about the Ukrainians, the guys in charge of Ukraine. So that's the first topic. What do you think the Russians will do once, let's say, Moscow is hit by a Tomahawk missile provided by you and I, supposedly? Are they entitled? Do have the right to strike us, since we strike them with his finger? Without the gun, finger, just stick it in your ass or in your nose or mouth, wherever, which one the order you want. Well, I'm just saying. So that's the first topic. The second one, Donald Trump is going to give weapons through NATO and through the Europeans to the Ukrainians as a loan. The Ukrainians will buy these things as loans. They will not just get it. Someone makes a profit, and that's not the Ukrainian people. And we find out that Zelenskyy and Trump got a deal of, brace yourselves, $90 billion arms sale. Arms sale. How is Ukraine going to buy this? Ukraine's national debt just jumped $6 billion over the $198 billion where it stands right now in a month. Now, in a month, if you went to a deficit, let's say, of about $7 billion, well, multiply that with 12 months, and you're going to get to what? To about what? 90-some billion dollars a year deficit on top of 197 or something. So in 1 year, that country, the Ukraine, will be so prosperous, it's going to have a national debt of about 200 and let's say $80 billion. But hey, we're going to sell you weapons through the Europeans, through the banking system. You're going to pay us. Someone is making a lot of money. When Ukraine will be destroyed totally, not only in terms of human lives and manpower, but economically and a way of life, then what? What are they going to do? I tell you what these guys have in mind. They have the same thing in mind as Gaza. You know what's going on in Gaza? This is the Ukrainians, and this is someone else. Where? In Europe. All right, that's the second topic. The third topic, did you know that Transnistria fired or attacked Ukraine? Did you know that? Well, I'm going to discuss that in this video. And did you know that the Germans will give Ukraine 2 more Patriot systems by the end of the year? So that's October, November, December. Israel gave 1 and is going to give 2 more. So that's 5. 5 in a month, because the Israelis gave the Jewish state. I'm sorry, okay, ADL, I'm sorry, all right. Gave 1 a month ago. They're going to give 2 more. There's going to be 3. The Germans give 2. That's 5. It's okay. The Russians can play target practicing on those. My issue is this. Ukrainian nation will be decimated by these guys. After they get decimated, these guys going to pick up their luggage full of cash and go to London. And you're going to stay over there and have the Russians reconstruct whatever is left, which is nothing. Why? Because the Russians attack only civilian targets, not military. And we find out something that I think you and I already knew this, that Great Britain is at war with Russia. And that comes from the former MI6 chief, a woman. That's why they're doing so fine, because they're women. Where you have Annalena Baerbock, when you have von der Leyen, when you have what's his name in Great Britain, the former foreign minister and then prime minister. What's her name? All right, Liz Truss. When you have this, you have the Danish president or prime minister. If you have all these women in charge of us, you have Kaya Kallas. It's great, man, because they're more compassionate, we're told, and we have the toxic masculinity. But they will bring what the Queen of England brought to the rest of the world. Remember, when they tell you as a man, we should let them be, they're more compassionate, you're baboons, just remember, the biggest empire that the planet has ever seen, it was not the Roman Empire, it was not the Genghis Khans and garbage, it was the British Empire. And I have to remind you that during the British Empire, that means colonization and taking people and all that, it was a woman, a queen in charge. So when all the crimes, you can drop them on the compassion of women, right? And now you can tell right now, you can say, well, from the shadow is the man. Bring the evidence and I'm listening to it and I'm gonna discuss it. So let's start with the first one. You don't like what I said? I want you to tell me if it's wrong, if it's incorrect what I said. I don't care if it's wrong or right. I care if it's correct in a way of is a fact. Because you can say, well, that's not okay. You can't call the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki a war crime. Well, it's because you don't like it or because it doesn't fit the definition or meet the criteria. Well, definitely it meets the criteria. So that means you don't like it. All right? But as a fact, it's a fact. Civilian casualties, mass destruction, war crime. Let's go. Let's start with the first one. Is there a reason, or do you know the reason why the Russians didn't want this guy, General Kellogg, to be the mediator, so-called, or the envoy to Ukraine? The Russians did not agree with this guy. That's why the Jewish guy, Steve Witkov, is going to be the Middle East envoy. The Iranians, everybody in the Middle East love Witkov because he has nothing with Netanyahu and his club, or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to say tribe, but I just said it. So the Russians did not want Kellogg. Why? Because Kellogg, I think it's an intermediary between the big political interest, foreign interest of the big interest, which are banking, military-industrial complex, and the energy industry, and he's the delivery guy. And the Russians know that. So let's move on. You can say, well, Emil, who's not? This guy definitely is. So here you have US envoy. Trump clears Ukraine to hit deep inside Russia. With whose weapons? With my weapons. What my weapons? I'm going to show you. What weapons? Right there. $90 billion armed deal Zelenskyy announced. Let's go back. President Donald Trump has authorized Ukraine to carry out long strikes inside Russia. Now, look at this first sentence. The president of country A authorized country B to strike country 3 with country A's weapons. So, is Ukraine part of any military organization? I don't think it is. Is Ukraine United States of America? 51st state? No. So how come this guy has the power to authorize another country? He says, yeah, you can do it with my weapons. What does that sound to you? To me, it sounds like I wage war against those guys, using these guys, and those guys, the Russians, can only hit you, not me. Well, why don't you go to the, as the Russians call it, the root cause of the conflict, which is not Ukraine. It is the American interest. When I say American interest, it's not the American interest. Are the interest generated or originating from the American interest in a way that they use us. You don't have to own a, how do they call it, a floor guy, how do they call it nowadays? Jesus Christ, I don't find the fucking words. The regular baboon who's going to sell you something, they call them nowadays associate. You don't talk deal with an associate. You don't have to own an associate. Or associate will give you the interest, little things. You speak with the CEO, that's your guy. Or the director, of the guy in charge of the whole store. He's gonna make a decision. He's gonna tell the whatever baboon over there what to do. So the same here. Those interests don't have to own Romania or Albania or Hungary. They need to own the biggest guy, because the biggest guy will tell the other guy, the little one, what to do. So again, who's in charge of whom? Now you can say, well, I mean, that's our weapons. First, why do you sell your weapons over there? Well, to make money. Well, that's against my interest. That means I'm going to smack you. That's clear. And me being the Russians. And that works for everybody. It's not only that now the Russians are in this situation. For anybody. Opa, what's up, meow meow? No. Don't get my coffee. What's going on? Do you want to see people? Or do you want to be seen? Which one is it? Which one is it? Motherfucker. Yes, you missed me. You missed me. Okay, now, you want to come here on this side? We're going to go through the worst way. There you go. You got the tail now. Aren't you happy, guys? All right, so here is the thing. I think reading what Trump has said, and reading what Vice President Vance has said, as well as Secretary Rubio, they don't work for us. The answer is yes. Use the ability to hit deep. There are no such things as sanctuaries, Kellogg said. Okay, well, question. Answer. What could be the consequences of this decision? Could it be that the Russians could use, let's say, a nuclear submarine hitting New York? Could it be? And you say, no. So that's why you make these decisions, because you think that would not happen. If you would think that could happen, you would not make these decisions. That's the only reason. All right, and the Russians kept saying, guys, don't do it. They don't care. Why? They think the Russians will not go as far. US envoy, Trump clears Ukraine to hit deep inside Russia. With what exactly? There you go. Ukraine forum. Trump supports Ukraine's long-range strikes against Russia. What do you mean supports? So let's say tomorrow, the Americans, Donald Trump, attacks Venezuela. For the reasons they're going to tell you are noble. That means you're noble. And the Venezuelans are starting to strike inside the United States of America. And then they use Russian missiles and Russian weapons. The Russians are giving them, I don't know, $200 billion. Would you think that Russians have something to do with that? And you say, Russia, stop. Do you think that if the Russians say, yeah, I think I authorize the Venezuelans to hit, I'm okay with that. Do you think the Americans will say, it's okay, it's your right, Russia, to do that? Do you think that's the way it is? And remember this. Do you remember when Trump was complaining, like a bitch that he seems to be, that Zelenskyy seems to be the biggest salesperson in the world? He just comes to Washington and he gets, I don't know how many billions of dollars. What's going on now, Trump? You know what's going on? Trump was just upset like a freaking kid that the grapes are sour because he doesn't have them. He doesn't get to them. Now he got in the candy shop, in the candy room right there, all right? And now he's okay, distributing 90, that's not just mocha. That's helping the economy. What do you mean helping the economy? How is that helping you? Well, revenue for us to spend on what exactly? So here you have, he got authorized, man. He's okay, he supports. And this is what Kellogg said. Everybody should follow what the president says. Now, let me tell you this. The guys in the West lost the ability to... I want you to look at what Kellogg has to say about Donald Trump. He changes Trump's position as an elected official, a representative, a public servant into a king. Let me show you. Here. This is from the same article I had before. This is what he says. When asked whether Kiev has such permission, Kellogg replied, everybody, including you, all the citizens, should follow what the president says. He's in charge. He is the commander-in-chief. He's not a public servant. He's in charge by the Constitution, and everybody falls in line like a king. When the president doesn't go left, you go left. When the president doesn't go left, you go left. I don't think that's when the president says you don't go left. If he says you go right, you right. So when the president says to do something, we just need to do that and complete the action. So this is what the guy tries to tell us. He's in charge of all of us, man. And as a king, he's going to tell. This is exactly what happened to Ceausescu when we were in Romania. He was the golden kid of the father of our nation. He was the best. If he says something, you do it. Do that. That's how it was. These guys are the same. Why? They're human beings. And the culture was changed. So here you have it, right there. Announces 90 billion arms deal. Good job, man. And he's not the salesman. Remember when this guy does, again, not this guy. Where the fuck is he? I got the same shit. Right there. When he said, oh, he must be the biggest salesman. Yes. And now you're the guy who's going to give him that. Next one. Again to the salesman. Zelenskyy says, Transnistria fired at Ukraine at start of full-scale war. And do you think he kept quiet until now? Until now? No. This guy tells us the news before the news are there. Now, you think that he stayed like for almost more than 3 years and a half? And if so, why? He just brings it up because there were some elections in Moldova and the right people won with a vote from the diaspora. Click, click, clock, clock. How many voted? 3,000. Okay, you send it back. It was 5 million voted. Even, you know what I mean? That's how they did it. The same happened in Romania. The same scenario. You ban the opposition, and if the wrong person wins, you cancel it, you run it again, ban that guy, and the diaspora votes came all for the right person. Why? Because from there until here, the information could change from going left into going right. That's why I love the electronic voting machines in the United States of America, for the same fucking reason. The program could be altered. Just a button and that's it. So there you go. The guy says what? Transnistria fired. So why didn't you fire back? Why didn't you have Moldova get and take care of them? Where is Transnistria? Let me show you where Transnistria is. So we're going to go on Ukraine, which is right here. And Transnistria is this little strip of land between Moldova or Bessarabia and Ukraine. This is Transnistria. It's a breakaway, as they call it. The Russians have it, and this guy shot at the Ukrainians. Supposedly. Okay, so this is still Ukraine, or still Moldova, or what's going on? I don't believe that was the case. I think the big liar is doing what he does best. Lies and gets you to give him money. Next one. Ukrinform. Ukraine to receive 2 more Patriot systems from Germany by year end. The defense minister who's still in charge. So let me tell you. Isn't he? Right there. German defense minister Boris Pistorius. Now let me tell you how things work. When your party loses the election, so when you win an election, you appoint or you get confirmed, depending on confirmed different ministers. You say, well, I want Emil to be the minister of propaganda, and Emil says, yes, thank you very much, and he shows in front of the parliament, the Congress, and they will, obviously a commission, of confirmation commission, will say, yes, Emil, yes or no, depending on what kind of orders they receive. And I get, obviously, to be confirmed as a minister of propaganda. And then my party that I belong, that I was pushed from, loses the election. That means the new party who's in charge is going to remove me, like we removed the previous administration's minister. Before Emil, it was another guy or another person, the propaganda minister from a different party. So when I come to power, when my party comes to power, that gets removed, I get confirmed. When another party comes in power, I get removed, another one comes in power. Pistorius is still there. Pistorius, if I remember, is not from Mr. Scholz's party or the Green Party. And these parties are still at power. So my point is, he's still there. We have in Romania a guy called Mugur Isarescu. He has been, with a 1 year break, he has been since 1990. Now in 2025. For this many years, 34 years if you want, he's been in power of the Romanian National Bank. There were all kind of parties of the opposition, of left, right. They changed. You changed the president of the Romanian National Bank. You change him. The president can say, now is Emil. That's it. You don't have to be like the Federal Reserve garbage with private. No, that's National Bank of Romania. He's still there. What does that tell you? They told the imbeciles in Romania he must stay there. He's not their boy. He is not working. Besides, he's Isarescu from Isa, whatever. I'm not going to go into whatever the etymology of the word, whatever the name, the last name. So he is over there. The same. Pistorius is still the defense minister. Why? He's doing the right job he was placed over there to do, which is arm Mr. Zelenskyy in Ukraine to have the Ukrainians go and die for whoever is in charge of Mr. Pistorius. And let me show you now the MI6. That's why the Brits are strong. They have all these things in charge. The Telegraph. Former MI5 chief believes Britain may already be at war with Russia. Yes, you little mo. Yes, they are at war. You can put how much makeup you want. You can have everything. You can put all this beautiful. You still look like shit. But nevertheless, we don't analyze people like that, don't we? Or do we? I just did. So a former head of MI5 has said Britain may already be at war with Russia. Well, I tell you this, I break the news before she is gonna break it. They have been. But it's not Russia against these guys, it's these guys against them. Obviously, if the Russians could, they would try to subdue Great Britain, but they can't unless they drop a bomb. That's how the Russians could subdue them at this point. Or not allow these guys to plunder the world in order to get resources from everywhere else, and they stay on the island doing nothing. Or at least getting more immigrants to their women so they repopulate Great Britain. I'm just saying certain things in this video. I'm irritated as fuck. Anyway, why am I irritated? I don't want to tell you. I'm always irritated, it seems like. So yes, they are at war. They try to destroy Russia. The problem is these guys think, and so far it worked fine. Before, if you remember before, not even before, when you are weak, you try to use people to do your job. Not when you're smart, when you're weak. Now it's considered be smart. You try to go and have this tribe, eliminate this tribe for you. When you're strong, you just get in and say, fuckers, move to the side. I don't have to tell anybody to move to the side. I just show up in a room and everybody acknowledges that I'm the strongest. Why? Because I punch them left and right. So if I show up in Africa, let's say, and I say, hey, Mali, I'm on you, Mali's gonna shit its pants and say, yes, they don't have to ask, but Great Britain is not that anymore. So they can't do it. So they fight a subversive war, which is under the table, but they don't want to be hit. They call it hybrid war. I think it's a direct war. That's how I call it, because these guys directly hit Russia inside of Russia. It's a war in Russia, against Russia. So when she says that, well, okay, tell me more. I mean, I knew this for what? 15 years? And not only, if you look at Great Britain's foreign policy is nobody strong, only I. Otherwise, if someone gets strong on the mainland, the main continent, the European continent, if someone gets strong over there, these guys are done. They're done in Africa, they're done in South America, they're done in Asia. All that's left is the baboons in Europe. They can maneuver certain things, but they can't compete. That's the problem. Great Britain cannot compete. What does Great Britain produce? That, let's say, Mali wants food. They don't have enough food. What are you talking about? They don't have the basic needs, Great Britain. And if they stay on their islands, they can't be self-sufficient whatsoever. They need the rest of the world, and they need to get it at a cheap price. That's why these guys are waging war all the time. They have to. And they used to be strong, and they still have the intelligence and the spy networks very well in place, and they make money through their organizations by printing numbers, just typing numbers. That's how they make it. What do you think? How come these guys are wealthy? Do you think they have gold in their fucking vaults over there? And even if gold is a convention. Tomorrow, these guys can say, we don't accept gold, like we don't accept dollar. What do you think these guys are going to do? Who do we bomb first? Who said it? The same with the petrodollar. What do you think Saddam? What do you think Gaddafi? What do you think Ceausescu and others were? It's because they were bad people? Oh my God, they said something about democracy. They care less. They said they're going to create a bank and they will not use the dollar. Not Ceausescu, but the other two. They're going to use the euro for oil. Where they are right now? Flying with Allah or whomever they fly with. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Beautiful sun today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.